Well, what a year it's been. After racking up a further almost 8 years at the BBC, brushing up on my skills, my second time round of working there, to be honest, and being on shows across ITV and Channel 5, I found myself wanting a platform to give my honest opinion. One where I wouldn't be punished, but my perspective would be acknowledged, even if it wasn't shared by others. I wanted to have a voice, something that as a trained broadcaster and journalist for 3 decades, I see that as the only way forward. I know, I don't look that old. Hey, I'm knackered. But who wants to be an automaton reading from an auto cue dead behind the eyes? Well, what a year it has been. Some of us foolishly thought that we'd see the end of COVID and the vaccine would provide all the answers, none of which have yet to come true. But in the midst of the pandemic, and like a phoenix rising from the ashes, enter GBNews. I went looking for them, and what a white-knuckle ride it's been. From Andrew Neil throwing his toys out of the pram and glitches that only highlight how difficult it is to launch a live news channel for the first in over 30 years, GBNews came to life. Now, who launches a channel in the height of a pandemic, I hear you cry? Well, people on a mission for diversity of thought and for truth. Oh, my God, not a moment too soon. From the one-sided reporting, in my view, by most of the media of Brexit, the attempts to rewrite history by tearing down statues, changing street names and historic buildings. There was Black Lives Matter and the taking of the knee, which, according to most reports, all black people supported. I didn't. All I saw was a divisive movement which would stoke the fire of racism. But no one was speaking up for me. There was the removal of pictures of the Queen, which in some countries would be an offence. The emergence of numerous made-up gender pronouns, attempts to silence the likes of J.K. Rowling for protecting female-only spaces, and Dr. Kathleen Stock for daring to say that biological sex trumps gender. The attempted cancellation of words like Christmas, Brexit, transition period, and the ludicrous practice of taking things out of context to deliberately be offended on another's behalf. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Thank God for GBNews. Now, let's take a look at some of our best bits.
Well, today you'll meet the rest of the GBNews family, starting with a team making your mornings that little bit brighter, of course. First of all, who are we?
Indeed. Well, you might be asking, who the hell are they?
I just don't support, people participating in, that type of gesture politics to a certain extent as well.
I'd rather, actually, that Angela Rayner didn't use words like scum, calling people names in that way. And it wasn't just one name, it was misogynistic, it was this, it was that. And for me personally, this is not how I want to hear my politicians speaking. I want to hear them talking about policy.
I'm choosing my words very carefully.
What was it that put you on the Remain side before the people spoke and you put your back into implementing Brexit?
I certainly would vote Leave now if I had my chance again, because I think it has enabled us to be more flexible and more nimble and take more control of our own decisions.
Well, after more than 2 years, Boris Johnson did get his moment in the Oval Office, meeting Joe Biden.
We look at what you're doing on climate change. Lots of people will be supportive of that. What they're not supportive of is people running onto the M25 motorway. It's happened for the 5th time in 8 days. The police need to step up and stop this from happening. It's ruining people's livelihoods.
It's crazy, and they should get up there. I want the police to have not only the powers to take people off the motorways, the ungluers, and get rid of them as fast as possible, but I also want them to have the sense that that's the right thing to do.
We're here at the COP protest, that's right, protesting the climate change conference. Quite clearly, everyone behind me marching up and down here is absolutely fuming that world leaders are coming together to try and get something done to keep warming below 1.5 degrees. Should everyone be like Cuba?
I think it's a very good example the way we can use socialism to be sustainable.
Its CO2 emissions are minuscule anyway, so...
Is that because no one can afford a car?
Partly.
Mr. Kerry, is an 86-car convoy leading by example? Mr. Kerry, is arriving by private jet leading by example? Mr Kerry, is falling asleep a good look for the President?
Very sadly that the MP David Amos has died as a result of the injuries received in that stabbing attack just after midday today at his constituency offices.
He was the sort of person that actually made Parliament work. You know, you hear about the big names, the Borises and the Rishis and so on, but actually Parliament depends on people like David who serve on the committees, as you said, take part in campaigns. If I was running a campaign, it's pretty much the first telephone call.
I defer to Harry's ignorance, and I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he was dropped on his head as a baby.
I think Harry has been used horribly. I think someday he will regret it. He probably does already. The insurrection took place on November 3rd. That was Election Day. January 6th was a protest. But if you would have looked at the crowds, the size, nobody wants to talk about that. I believe it was the biggest, and most people, and I've spoken to very big crowds. I have never spoken in front of a crowd that size. Nobody ever talks about that. And then, unfortunately, some bad things happened.
Why would a man who's got all the things you've got, great family, wonderful life, why on earth would he consider going back into that hell again?
If you love the country, you have no choice. It's not a question. It's just, this is a wonderful, beautiful life. But I like that, too, because I was helping people. That's why I did it. And I think you'll be happy in the future, too.